All right, that's my cue. Howdy, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jim Lanny, and I'm here to talk about some of the quantitative analyses that typically happen within DNPs and scholarly projects and quality improvement kinds of things. Um, you can interrupt at any point by putting comments into the chat or into the Q&A. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. Um, and I'm also kind of curious where everybody is in their process. Are you a student or faculty? Have you collected data? Are you about to collect data? And Melissa, that would be best put into the chat or into the
I
Q&A.
think the chat for that one.
Chat would be fine. And also we do have Melissa here, Samantha to help with any student concerns, student questions, student appointments. Ashley helps with all of the faculty, demos, trials, courseware. How you doing, Chris? Students, few faculty. No product data till February. Okay. It is interesting though to, if you are collecting data, um, let's make a quick comment about that. That if you're going to be collecting data and you're going to do it online, for example, once you do like Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey or whatever, you know, actually try it out yourself. Okay, so take the survey yourself. Um, if that's what you're doing, download that to make sure you know how to do that, and make sure it's in the right order that you need it. Okay, if you're doing a pre-post survey, which most people do, make sure you have a common identifier. Okay, so you can match the pre to the post. So just check that out first. Lit review stage. I'm going to mention a few things during the webinar. Not only kind of the basics, you know, quant analysis 101, okay, but I will also mention the discussion draft that is now added to the Intellectus statistics tool. And I will also touch on briefly the Lit Review, okay, the Lit Review app, which is going to help you draft a Lit Review very quickly. Um, okay, Lit Review, students, faculty, okay. And I think Chris helping students with their projects. I would be interested in hearing the typical problems that you observe with them. Um, is it in collecting data? Is it picking an instrument? Is it figuring out how to organize that data? Is it in doing the analysis? So, faculty, I'd be interested in hearing where you see those speed bumps, okay, or stumbling blocks. And hopefully we can turn those into stepping stones. Okay. So yeah, organizing data and design from the beginning. Organizing data is a challenge, but I will look to touch on that. Because the data is not organized right, you can't use the tools to conduct the analysis. So it's really important that it is or organized and put out laid out in a flat spreadsheet ish about how you're going to need that. Design, that's another topic. Probably not going to touch on that here, but it's a good topic. Um, okay. And okay, so let me get going here. So, okay. So I do title this nurse research or nurse scientist because there are nurses in magnets and other places where you need to be conducting research and for faculty and for DNP students as well. So I have a big agenda here and I will look to move through lots of that. Um, In addition to kind of setting up data, certainly the levels of measurement of your data is really important. It's important in how you collect it. It's important in what kind of analysis you do, and so forth. So getting that basics down is really, something that we all need to like get in our brains. It's only 3 different types, so it's not overly burdensome. Talk about Likert type items, talk about test selections, talk about data setup, which we just kind of briefly mentioned. We'll log into the Intellectus. I may or may not do the data cleaning wizard. I'll touch on the difference between clinical significance or effect sizes, okay, and statistical significance, which is what we all kind of think about when we think about P equals 0.05 and what that really means. I will conduct some analyses that are very common. Paired t-tests, descriptives, chi-squares, those are all kind of, daily things that we're doing. Discussion draft, how to download and questions and answers. And as I say, just keep asking questions all the way throughout this thing. And Melissa will interrupt me or stop me for questions and so forth. So just ask away. Okay. Um, so first things first, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these things, but just to know, when it comes to quantitative data, we have 3 types of data. Nominal, it's just names, okay? Male, female, non-binary, Republican, Democrat, um, red, blue, green, orange, pink balls, okay? So they're just names of things. There's no order to them and things of that sort. Ordinal data has both names, small, medium, large, and it has an order to it. Scale, you can call it scale or continuous or ratio or interval. I kind of just call them all scale because the tests do not differ. If I use any of those different synonyms there. So, and scale level variables have both names, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. Okay. It has order. Okay. And it has the equal intervals or spaces between them. So 1 inch to 2 inch is the same distance, so to speak, as 2 inch to 3 inch, and so forth. Or in volumes, 1 ounce to 2 ounces is the same distance or volume as 5 ounces to 6 ounces. So there's equal spaces, so to speak. So you should know what kind of levels of measurement you have. And this is, I'll say the scale is the grainiest, of course. Ordinal is the next grainiest, and then nominal is just kind of just labels. Where I'm kind of going with that is that if you have something grainy like age, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, I could scale. I could also put those into ordinal and say, under 3, 4 years and older, okay, or 4 to 8, and then 9 to 12. I could make them ordinal, okay. And basically speaking, you kind of want the grainiest way that you can measure it. I know, like for age is like age groups. It's fine, but generally speaking, you want to get data grainy, and you could always make it less grainy, like ordinal later. Quick comment about Likert type items. Is a Likert type scale, is it ordinal from strongly disagree to strongly agree, or is it really a scale variable? The rule of thumb is that if you're only using only one item in some construct, like satisfaction, and it's a 3 or 4 point scale, you leave it as ordinal, and that's the symbol for ordinal there. If the one satisfaction item is a 5 or 7 point scale, you can treat it as continuous or scale. Okay. The other part is, once you have several items, let's just say I have several 4 point questions around satisfaction. It doesn't matter that it's ordinal or whatever it is, okay? Once you start adding things together or averaging things, you are now into a scale level world. For example, when you had a 100-point test as a kid and each item was correct or incorrect, okay? That is a nominal level of measurement, okay? Question one, correct or incorrect, okay? Two, correct or incorrect, and so forth. So, but once I add them up, then that's the number out of 100, and that's a scale level variable. So one item, this is a good rule of thumb. You could look at the Statistics Solutions website for a little bit of references around that. One item, 5 to 7 point scale, keep it a scale. Once you start adding these things together, or averaging these things together, that is, items or questions within a subscale or a scale, be it nominal, be it ordinal, be it continuous, once you average these things, you are in scale land. Okay. All right. The biggest problem that students have is a data analysis plan. If I had a nickel for every data analysis plan, okay, people came, it's very challenging. And I don't know if we don't teach it well. If it takes several immersions in it too. So it's, it took me, 3 classes in or 4 classes of statistics before I kind of got a feel for it. So I think it's, how much can we actually do in one semester? And DNPs typically have 1 semester of stats. So I think that's probably the reason for it, but nevertheless, if you struggle with it, you're not alone. A lot of people in nursing, DNP programs, and lots of other programs all struggle with it. So I'm going to try to demystify this quickly about how do you select different tests. And basically, you have to have 2 ingredients. One is the language that you state your study aim. Okay, are there differences on this by that? Is A related to B or correlated with B? Okay, things of this sort. So the language makes a difference and elicits some type of test, and the level of measurement that I just talked about. So those things combined, okay? So most DMPs, 80% of DMPs are doing paired t-tests. So just know that, okay? I'm doing some knowledge tests before, I'm doing some intervention and some knowledge tests after. I'm going to compare a group of their pre-test scores to their post-test scores, okay? And we're doing a paired t-test, all right? Okay. PICO questions. PICO questions have a lot of value to them because it gives you the context and who's the population, what am I comparing, and so forth, all right? So, and they will, you'll be writing a PICO question. But when it comes to data analysis plans, it's helpful to think about kind of what is the core essence of the PICO question. I call it PICO light, all right? So, what is the effect of X on Y? Are there differences on A by B? I'm not talking about inclusion criteria or the population or anything of that sort. I'm just getting to the variables. What are the variables and what's the relationship among the variables? That's the core of it. That's what's going to drive you to the analysis, okay? I'm looking to see, are there differences on post-test knowledge compared to pre-test knowledge? Okay, so knowledge at 2 time points. I have knowledge and I have 2 time points. All right. So that is the quickest way to get to the appropriate statistical test. and I'll show you a decision tree to help you, okay, get there. But boil it down, okay? So going into data plans, are there differences on A by B, okay, or differences between pre-test and post-test? So these is some of the language is language of differences, languages of is A related to B, and differences as A predict B or impact B, okay? Let me say something here. So once we're in differences of continuous level variables, okay, we are into t-test land, okay, or ANOVA land, okay, relationships, okay. You're into chi-square and correlation land, and prediction or impact, you're always into regression land, okay? And there's different regressions and there's different correlations, but just to know, that's covering lots and lots of bases. By the way, let me just make the plug that um, we do have a decision tree. Melissa, correct me. We do have a decision tree, a PowerPoint for folks to help them decide what test, correct?
Yeah, we do have that available.
Okay, and maybe when we send out the send out the audio, the recording here, we can send that out because I'm trying to cover in 5 minutes what I just said it took me 2 years to learn. So we'll send you PowerPoints around helping to figure out what statistical test to be using. Alrighty. Someone mentioned how do you set up data. Here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is that whether you're doing paired t-test or independent t-test or other things, the ID, that is the participants, are always in the rows, okay? 99.999% of the time, participants are in rows, the variables are in columns. So in this case here, I have the same participant, number one, and that participant had a pre-test score and a post-test score, and perhaps a follow-up test score. They all have to be in the same row, all right? So and if you had demographic variables, that's in the same row. Okay, so every participant, their data is on a row. All right. You could have, okay, some pre and post and follow up, okay. But again, these are different people, okay. These are 7 different people, and even though they're at a time of, pre some event, whatever, pre-Sputnik, their view of space, post-Sputnik, okay, their view of space or whatever, okay. Um, Individuals are and participants are on rows, okay, and then the DV is some dependent variable, some outcome variable. So the basic setup is if you keep each participant in a row, and if that participant had several variables, okay, like pre and post, and everybody's on the same row. That's it. And a lot of times I do see participants on columns and variables on rows. That's not right. Okay, you have to have each participant in a row. All right. I'll show a data cleaning wizard. Um, okay, data cleaning. Okay, I want to say something about clinical significance. And when you conduct even t-tests in intellective statistics or in other tools, you'll see a Cohen's d. It's an effect size. And just to say something that you could, most of the time, all the time, we look at statistical significance. That is, if we don't get a t-value, 95 times out of 100 of that size, okay, that we call things significant, okay? So Statistical significance is that P of 0.05. Maybe I should have said it the other way. 5 times out of 100, we would not get a t-value of that size by chance. That you have a low chance of getting things, you have a low probability of getting things by chance, a t-value or an f-value or an r-value. These are different statistical quantities. That's one thing. The other thing is the clinical significance or the importance of the difference, okay? And that's where the effect size shows up. So in lots of DNP projects, sample sizes are very small. You may not find statistical significance, but you may well have practical significance, okay, or importance. So just to know that you should be aware of that. A lot of times, again, with small sample sizes, you may not reduce fall rates statistically, but you're reducing it by 20%. Well, that's a big deal. So heads up about clinical significance, particularly effect sizes. I won't go into all that. Statistically significant, but not clinically. Blood pressure reduces systolic blood pressure. It's statistically significant, but it's not important. It doesn't reduce cardiovascular events. Clinical significance, but not statistically significant. Fall rates reduced by 30%, but hey, didn't meet that bar with that 0.05. And sometimes you have both statistical and clinical significance, even better. Okay. It's important when you get out there in the world that statistical significance does not tell the entire story. That's the point. That you have to also look at other criteria like clinical significance. Discussion draft I'll talk about. Okay. And then let's just go ahead and get logged in. So I think everyone has credentials to get logged in. So you can do that now, and Melissa will put that back into the Q&A or into the chat, so so you can get logged in with that. And then I think I will get to that myself. Okay, so let's get there. So this is the tool, okay, if you haven't logged in yet. It's web-based, so there's no updating, things of that sort. And just go ahead and just do the data clean wizard. Well, let me just do the decision tree. So we talked about how do you find the correct statistical test based on your study objectives, but also between relationships or predictions and things of that sort or differences, and then knowing the levels of measurement, okay? You also have to know what your outcome variable is or dependent variable, okay? And your independent variable, things that are typically manipulated by the researcher. So this is not perfect in several ways. So one is not going to get you to advanced analyses. But we've done our best here to say, hey, I want to predict an outcome, and that outcome is scale. I'm doing a linear regression, and then you can just jump to that analysis, okay? So this is a decision tree that kind of walks along predicting an outcome. What level of measurement is that, okay? And then what is that test? And you can play around with this. We're going to have to get AI on this, though. I think by putting in your study aim, I think we can complement what we have here. So just to know there is a decision tree here. We have a power analysis that is what is the sample size I should be using for different tests. So once you get to figure out the test, you can go to the different tests here under power analysis to determine the appropriate sample size. Okay. All right. Let's get to okay. All right. So you guys are asking questions, people are answering it. Okay. So for those that do analysis a lot, we all realize that the data cleaning is 90% of the job. To do the analysis, 10 seconds. But to clean up that data is important. So let me just share with you that a lot of times data looks like this, okay? You'll have the question number, you'll have perhaps the full question laid out there, okay? Maybe some open-ended here, all right? And these four things make a scale, for example, okay? Like a satisfaction scale, okay? All right. And in Qualtrics, there'll be another layer in there, but sometimes your data looks like this, and we want to kind of clean it up. So we developed a data cleaning wizard, and I'll exemplify that. So first thing we do is under projects, we go to upload data, and you can upload data in different file formats. Typically, it's in Excel or CSV. You can also just paste data in manually under the enter data manually. Okay. So once you select the format and the data, the data file, I should say, you get thrown into the data cleaning wizard. If you don't want to be in the wizard, just exit out of here. If you do want to do it, just go right next to it. And here it allows you to kind of get rid of some of those headers that are, again, very common in Qualtrics, for example. It allows you to edit the variable names here. So this, if I wanted to name this Q3, okay, so sometimes you have the whole question up there. This is an opportunity to kind of boil those down. If there's misspellings, which sometimes happen here, there's disagree with 3 E's and 2 E's. This is after I merge them, so it will pick up. You want to clean it up before you get moving. And then if there's a Likert type scale, like I happen to have a 5-point agreement scale, and I currently have labels, I need to turn them into numbers. And so I endorse the items that I want to turn into numbers. After I've turned them into numbers, I can now create that subscale. And for example, these is my satisfaction survey. If you have a reverse coded item, that means a question is asked in the opposite manner. You can simultaneously reverse code it and put it into a new scale, which I'll call satisfaction. Okay. And you can choose to sum or average them. So I've named a new scale. I've identified how I want them aggregated. I've identified the items with the reverse coding and identified the reverse coding. And then we're kind of off to the races. So here are our 4 items that I had. And here's our new subscale called satisfaction. Sometimes there's also open-ended questions. You can collapse that with our text classification function. And what that's doing is this was open-ended around leadership. And it will not do a deep dive into qualitative, but it will at least bucket your participants' responses into different categories. So it's taken this open-ended and put them into categories here. That's helpful because you can really now use that qualitative to interact with the quantitative, like, hey, are there differences on satisfaction by, how I view leadership or something of that sort. Okay. The other thing I'll do is just, once let me go back for a second. Once you have data, you can also do other data functions here, but one important thing is actually downloading that data. Once you've created these new scores, you want to save that data. So you can just download that. And you can see that wizard sitting right here, which is the new data with our satisfaction scores here. Okay, and our buckets of leadership here. Okay. We also have plots. The most frequent kinds of plots are either, I'll say scatter plots, okay? Which is looking at, I have a very small sample size, but these are data points looking at two variables. Also histograms to see if things are normally distributed. I should get a better data set here, sorry. Something that's plot worthy here. So scatter plots, look at age and some outcome variable. All right, you can see how things are distributed across. Looks kind of random. You can do histograms. This is mostly we could take age. All right, very few young people here. And then you can kind of see it's almost kind of bell curvish here. So range from whatever, 20 to 75. Okay. Also you may not get into this, but there's lots of control charts to be had. Okay. All right. And profile plots are also kind of an interesting set of plots where you can look at some outcome variables. Okay, by different categories or different groups. Okay, and here we can see kind of male, females, non-binary, and then what their scores look like. Okay, for each of these outcome variables. The other thing that I'll highlight is, so we've talked about uploading data and managing some data and plotting some data. The analysis is really runs the gamut from descriptives, t-tests are sitting here, non-parametric like chi-squares is sitting here, correlation sitting here. Let's just do some of these. So descriptives, certainly I can look at my satisfaction and my leadership bucket. You should note that there's a video tutorial on basically every dialog box from data management, plots, and analysis. Video tutorials there. For faculty, just know there's an options button sitting up here that allows you to kind of curate how you want things to be presented. And for descriptives, you just hit add to analysis. You can see for nominal variables, it's going to give you frequency and percentage. For the scale variable, it's going to give you means and standard deviations. Okay. If we wanted to do a correlation between a few variables, which people do, I can correlate some of those variables. With the correlations as assumptions, okay, via the scatter plots. And then you can see the relationship among the variables here. For all of these different tests over here, there are not only the assumptions, but the actual finding, okay? There was significant negative correlation between Q1 and Q2, okay, minus 0.73. And then it also gives you the interpretation of that. Well, what does a negative correlation mean? Well, it means as one goes up, the other one goes down. There's paired t-tests here. Let's just take Q1 to Q2. So we're just, we identified the paired t-tests. I put in my two variables, okay? And as for all of the tests, the assumptions are built in. It identifies the assumption, identifies the test to test that assumption. It runs the assumption and interprets the assumption in English. The results of the test was significant. Here we can see, and this is one way of reporting it. You have to edit these things. So this is all publish with Turnitin. You can use the table the way it is. You can use the figure the way it is. You can use the interpretation, but you need to edit. This is published with Turnitin. So you have to edit these things. So we found that there was a significant difference, and we can see that the Q1 had greatest scores than did Q2. Okay. So I think I will stop for a moment. Well, the one other thing I'll add is the discussion draft. When you conduct your analysis, let's see if I can get to there. Here, I had a data set using Matchlock's burnout scale. And then I did some analyses, okay, descriptives, and then looked at differences of emotional exhaustion by gender. You can go to the discussion draft and let's just do this for a second. And in the discussion draft, it's going to ask you a few questions. So it's going to ask you to name your draft. It's going to ask you to put in the research question or study aims, and then it's going to ask you to be specific about the variables that you created. So if I created a satisfaction scale, I should mention, Rosenberg's self-satisfaction scale or something of that sort. So you need to be very clear about what these acronyms mean or these totals, like don't just say pre-test and post-test, say pre-test of, the C scale of confidence, okay, or something of that sort. So you'll want to fill that out, okay? The what you'll get for that effort under analysis, under discussion, what you'll get for that is you'll get a whole draft of your discussion chapter, which includes an introduction, okay, the variables of interest, the interpretation of the findings. This is really important. I mean, I just left a faculty member an hour ago, and the question was, we get some conflicting analyses here. Well, the AI will help interpret and weave together those findings. Not only is it going to interpret the findings, it's going to give you the practical implications. By the way, it's going to be tapping into research, okay, and contextualizing your particular findings, practical implications, the limitations of your study, okay, future research, and in the conclusion. All downloads to an editable Word document. So this is a big deal that, I will say it took me a year to do my results and discussion here in 30 minutes. So you have to edit everything. You have to vet all the references. Okay, make sure that they're real. You have to edit everything. This is written in AI, so you need to, put that in your own voice and make sure it makes sense to you. So those are really important things, okay? All right. So I think we've gone through, so let me just stop there for a minute, see if there's questions. Otherwise, I can tap into various things. Any questions to be had at the moment?
There's a question about the literature review, which we could go into if you want, or if anyone has shared a project and wants to work directly on their project, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
Yeah, I think we'll touch on the lit review and the qualitative after, like at the end. So stick around for that, but maybe just stay focused here for folks that do have questions or want to share. And you gave them my email address to share.
Yep, and if you've shared your project, just raise your hand and we can unmute you and get into your project.
No raised hands?
Oh, yeah,
Ah,
here we go.
all right, Alicia. Okay, Alicia. Is it Alicia or Alicia? Maybe somebody could bring her in.
Yep, Alicia, if you want to just unmute, you can ask your question.
Oh, hello?
Hi there, how are you today?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Is it Alicia or Alicia?
Alicia's fine. Yeah.
Well, how do you say it?
Well, it's Hispanic, Alicia, but my
So it is Alicia. Okay, all right.
yeah, but most of my friends call me Alicia, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So I do have I'm an FIU student. I'm on my first semester, so I'm just learning the ropes around everything. I'm on the DNP program. So I can share my PICO question. What part of the project would you like me to share? I don't have much yet, but
Well, have you put data in or not?
not yet. No, because I'm
Okay,
on my first semester.
fine. So share what you want to share.
Yeah. So I do have a PICO question, which is how, let me open it up here. Just a second. Had it just a second ago. Okay. My PICO question is, does the implementation of an educational program based on motivational interviewing strategies among adult psychiatric patients improve knowledge and medication adherence to long-acting injectable medication? So does the educational intervention, right, improve adherence and knowledge um, towards this type of medication specifically?
Okay. So let me put you to it. So
Mhm.
what are your outcome variables? What are your dependent variables?
So what I'm trying to independent or dependent, you said?
Dependent. No, I know what you're doing. I know what you're
Uh-huh.
doing. I just
Yeah.
want to say, but I want to make sure. What are the main variables that we're looking at?
So the educational intervention would be one, right?
Nope. Nope.
No,
So that so
and
the so the
uh-huh.
intervention, so the outcome variable is knowledge, okay? And I
Okay, okay.
measured, so it's the things that we measure. It's not our intervention. Intervention,
Ah, okay, okay.
okay? So our variables, you have two variables measured at two times, okay? You
Mm-hmm.
have knowledge, measuring knowledge before the intervention, education intervention, and measuring knowledge after. Knowledge is one variable.
Yes.
The other variable we have is adherence. They have
Yes.
some adherence before, you get some intervention, they have some adherence after. So knowledge and adherence are our outcome variables or dependent variables, okay? The next question is, so we're saying, is there a difference? That's the statistical language, is there differences? But now we need to know the level of measurement, okay? So how is knowledge measured? How are you assessing knowledge at pretest, for example?
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of creating a Likert scale instrument, right? To see what the patients know so far, why they're taking their medication, what side effects are associated with the medication. Just creating something that's the basics of the medication, therapeutic purpose, side effects, and benefits. Those three concepts.
Okay, so you want to have several concepts of knowledge. That's fine.
Mm,
Or you want just
well,
one knowledge.
I could do therapeutic purpose, like do they know why they're taking the medication?
Perfect. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say to all the students, keep it simple. This is just
Okay,
a project, okay?
got
This
it.
is
Mm-hmm.
not, you're not, we're not stopping the war in Sudan. We're just
Yeah,
we're just doing a thing, okay? So
purpose. Okay.
so let's call it knowledge of the purpose, okay? Knowledge of the purpose of why I'm taking a med. Now, go find a reliable, valid instrument around knowledge of why I'm taking a medication. Okay. Okay. There's an existing scale out there that's measuring that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit of that is threefold. One, it's going to have reliability. They're asking the questions in a way that it shows reliability. Secondly, it shows validity. Okay. All right. So when you get to the IRB, they don't say, Alicia, great, you made up the scale. How creative. By the way, how do you know that it's a valid instrument? You don't.
Right.
You don't. How you validate it is with some other instrument and you get off task, which is validating your instrument when you just really want to know, did your intervention make a difference? That's the second reason. The third reason is that when you use when you use the discussion draft, okay, when you put in it's the knowledge of medicine purpose by Jones and Jones, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna help you with that draft. So those are the reasons why you need a valid instrument. For those of you that are going to say, no one has measured what I want to measure. Do you know what I tell you? Go find another study. You're a doc student, okay? And no one on the whole planet and of all time has ever measured this. That doesn't sound right. Something's wrong. Okay. So go find the instrument, go use AI to find an instrument. Okay. All right. So we have some knowledge, let's just say some Likert type. We're going to get some knowledge score pre to post. How are you measuring adherence?
That I did find an instrument, a 4-item Morisky adherence medication scale. It's called the MMAS. So I did
Perfect.
find that on the literature.
Awesome. So I'm going to get a score on adherence pre to post.
Correct. Yes, there's a
Perfect.
four score
Question.
from 0 to 4, and
Well,
it's
zero to
4
four is done.
items.
Okay. And then there's several questions around that.
4 questions only.
Well, pardon, 4 questions?
So yeah, the scale is 4 questions in total, and it scores from 0 to 4.
No problem.
The
Terrific.
answer.
Terrific. So we have knowledge pre to post, adherence pre to post, and we're just going to do paired t-test. Are there changes? Okay. Greater knowledge, more adherence, or whatever. Paired t-test. Simple, simple. All right. Good.
Thank you. Yes, that helped a lot.
Good. Yeah. And you know, that's when I was talking about the Pico kind of gets a little bit complicated because like, well, we're talking about the education intervention and this, well, but it doesn't really impact what test are we doing. Let's boil down to the variables and what do we want to know about them? Are there differences pre to post? That's all we need to know on 2 variables, knowledge and adherence. So write the PICO, put the inclusion criteria for, you know, patients that are 75 years of age in a Northwest town. You know, does the education intervention that we're going to give for 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Really want to know knowledge pre to post, adherence pre to post,
Got it.
and the test they're in. And that's going to matter in your methodology. It's going to matter in the IRB application. So, all right.
Thank you, Dr.
Yep,
Lenny.
my pleasure. Nice meeting you, Alicia.
Likewise, thank you.
Bye. All right, other questions?
There are some coming in the chat if you want to go there.
Okay. So chat. Oh, I had chat. Okay. 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 It's Alicia, I think we just talked to. Okay. For students who could not find a validated tool with their project, we're pilot. Don't get me going, Christine. Okay. Don't get me going. Because I just went on about that. We are piloting having our students use a modified Delphi. You can modify. Okay, I should have said that. So, okay. So if the tool has been, well, there's a few things here. If a tool has been used on medical students and now you want to use it on nursing students, or used in this setting and now I want to use it in that setting, you can modify. That's no problem. Okay. And you can, I would still say use that same reliability and validity, but I'm changing out or tweaking it a little bit. That's fine. So the tool may not be exactly, you know, for the population, for example, that you want to use. So you can tweak it. So Delphi process for creating a tool, you know, I'm not crazy about it. I'm not crazy about it because I understand. I mean, unless the whole project is around developing a tool, fine. Use the Delphi process, use some other process to kind of validate it with experts, test it and look at the reliability. That's fine. But most DMPs, I mean, now you got me curious there, Christine. What tool is not out there in all of history that your student is doing? So go ahead, let me hear it. You either type it in there, Christine, or unmute you to see what validated it. What are you studying that no one has ever measured before? Okay, and while you're thinking on that, I'll keep going down. Where can I find this recording? We'll send it to you. Uploading data right now. Let me see if I refresh this, how this
And
works.
Ashley, if you could just raise your hand. Oh, here, I see you here. Okay.
All right, and then let me go over here. Is this Ashley right here?
I'm Ashley.
Oh, hi, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
All right, so wait a second. So I have a pre and a post survey.
Yeah, and I I attempted to do the cleaning myself. I didn't know the cleaning tool was on here, but so one of them is and then the pre is not. I don't know why it wouldn't upload that way.
That's fine. So here's the deal. So first of all, so you have ID here. So I'm just taking this okay, so I'm gonna take this. Let's see what I can do here. So I go to edit data. See what I can do here. So I'm gonna just copy this, okay? This is your post. So I'm gonna Control C and cancel out of this thing. And then I'm gonna go, because that was the post. So I'm gonna go to the pre. Okay, and then open up the pre. Because for sure you need to have everything in one screen, okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right, so I'm going to edit data. So add a column and then paste, okay? So now I don't know, wait a second, are these 4 questions the same as these?
Yes. Yes, I just couldn't get the first one, the pre one to upload with just the numbers. I don't know why.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, when you say just not, I mean, you can upload it like this. You can change these things after, okay?
Okay.
So let's just do some data management here. So, so I upload the data and sometimes it doesn't pan out. Like sometimes I still have this, sometimes I have this. You can go to recode multiple, okay? All right, and under that recode multiple, I can, say I want a scale measurement, okay? And I can identify Q1, 2, 3, okay? And continue. And then this was probably like strongly a 5-point scale.
It was a six
6-point
point.
scale. Okay. So this is probably the 6 and this is the 5. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I say. So you had strongly agree, somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, strongly disagree.
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine. So in this case, if you had all of those levels, you would just do what I'm going to do right here, which is strongly agree. I'm going to copy over that. You get a 6. Agree. I'm going to get a 5. Somewhat agree. I'm going to get a 4. Okay.
Okay.
And you can put that right into the same variable. Okay. And voila, it turns into numbers. And now I can go to variable calculator. Okay. And then create a sum, name it. Okay. Or whatever, okay? And then sum them or average them, okay? Of those items, okay? And when you do that, you can see, oh, I'm adding those 3. I'm naming the total and submit. And you're there. Okay. All right. So does that help?
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. And then again, if you had the pre-test in or the post-test in, you could just go to edit data and add new variables for the post or whatever. You could add new rows if it's, something of that sort. So, all right. All right. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. And then I see Christine. We'll talk offline, no problem. Okay, so let me just take the last 2 minutes here to share that we do have a qualitative tool, and I'll just direct you to intellectusqualitative.com, and Melissa will put these names in the chat or the Q&A. And then it really does a great job of excerpting, coding, and thematizing your data very, very quickly. 3 minutes. Also, the Intellectus Lit Review is going to take your PDFs, 20 of them, 220 of them. It's going to combine them and then write a synthesis of that. So it's going to synthesize groups of articles. It's going to describe individual articles. And it's going to identify gaps in literature, which is bridging your lit review to your study aims. Okay. And that gap is going to give that logical bridge. So I'll just, those are good things to look at. Okay, I got 2 more messages. Oh, there you go. All right. And I think with that, final thoughts, Melissa, any final thoughts we have here?
If we didn't get to your questions, feel free to reply to the email. I'm gonna send an email out to everyone with the recording. It'll be links to our upcoming webinars and then other resources. So feel free to reply to the email with your questions. We're happy to answer them afterwards.
Great. And if you want to hop on a 15-minute call with me, you can use that QR code. Samantha is available for students to give any support there. Ashley is her contact information is there. Melissa for anything else or for talks for me. and then different websites we have. So I think that we'll call it a day there, and thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Please do share this with others. Hopefully there's some value there, and that other people can, get some benefit from it as well. So please do share the tools and the webinars with students and faculty, and we'll see you all next time. Okay. Bye all. Have a great weekend.